everybody, welcome back to Fish Den 365. You know, many years ago, the founders of In-Fisherman, Al and Ron Lindner, came out with a formula for fishing success. And it was simple, and yet I find it still effective to this day. It was F plus L plus P equals success. F meaning the fish, knowing something about the nature of the fish you're fishing for, when they spawn, when they're in shallow water, when they're in deep water, this kind of thing. The L factor is location, finding where they are. And the P factor is the presentation. So once you find where they are, you have to come up with the right presentation to get those fish to trigger into eating your bait. Well, today, after spending some time with some friends and seeing some new technology in their boat, I'm wondering if there isn't time when that equation should change to F plus FFS plus P equals success. And the FFS is forward facing sonar. It's a technology that is changing the game of fishing as we're learning about it. Now, I don't currently own forward facing sonar, but I have a lot of fishing friends that I fish with who do. And so I've learned quite a bit about how they could be beneficial in specific fishing situations. Before we go any further, this video is not going to be about tournament fishing or whether or not it's ethical to use forward facing sonar. I'll leave those questions to someone else to answer. I just want to talk about whether it makes sense for you as a fisherman and a consumer to own forward facing sonar, because I think there's a time and a place for it, but it's not always necessary either. So I think we have to talk a little bit about what is it and what does it do? What makes it different from traditional sonar and down imaging, down scanning, and side scanning? Well, when you're looking down with a 2D sonar or with a down imaging or side scanning or side imaging, your transducer passes over these objects and fish, but it's not giving you a live reading of the fish. As soon as you see that fish, that's where it was and where the transducer captured it at that moment in time. As you continue to pass over it, you're no longer seeing a live presentation of those fish and objects. Forward facing sonar, on the other hand, is when you have a transducer that's looking outward and actually seeing the items, the fish out there and the objects in real time. So whatever it's pointed at, if there's fish, you'll see them swimming around. You can see these objects and fish in real time, live. And so whatever that transducer is pointing at, that's what you're seeing. And you could look out 80, 100, 120 feet out in front. A lot of people put their transducer on their trolling motor, just like you would with a regular sonar. And that's good, but it could also cause some issues, because let's say you're turning a boat and you notice that there's something out there 80 feet in front of you, and maybe you have spot lock and you've got that engaged and the wind's blowing, and the trolling motor will automatically turn somewhere else. So now you can't see what you were just trying to look at unless you override the spot lock and take the trolling motor back and point it in that direction. The way around that is some people just have a separate pole that is not connected to the trolling motor, so that they can literally turn the pole in any direction they want to look, regardless of where the trolling motor is pointed. So that's one way around that. Either way, whatever you're pointing at, that's what it's going to be picking up and seeing. And this can include objects like a sunken boat and all the fish along with it. It also picks up little tiny bait fish schools very well, clouds of bait fish. So this live sonar gives a very interesting advantage because it's live. So now if you set these systems up properly, you could actually see the fish out there, throw your bait, see it enter the water, and watch your bait as it's going down and know exactly where it is in relation to the fish. So then you could reel it forward to get it closer to the fish, and now you can see how the fish are reacting to it. So it really helps with the presentation part of the equation too, because you have immediate feedback. The fish rushes it but doesn't take it. Something's not quite right. So then maybe you kill your presentation, or maybe you speed it up real quick, or maybe you just do a couple of twitches with the rod to make it look injured to get those fish to bite. You don't have that opportunity to do that with regular sonar and down scanning and down imaging and side scanning and side imaging. There's no way to really do that effectively. Forward facing sonar changes that, and that's why there's so much emphasis and why it's grown in popularity so quickly. And there are a number of these out there. The major brands all have their own version of this. Lowrance, Garmin, Humminbird, they all have their versions of forward facing sonar, and they all work good. I mean, I'm sure there's some that are better than others. I don't own any of them, so I really don't know which is the best. I may be in the future an owner of some technology like this, but right now it's not something that I'm going to buy on an immediate basis. However, I do have an interest in it. So recently a buddy of mine, Judd Herr, purchased a property on one of the Finger Lakes, and he invited me up to go fishing for a weekend, and he has forward facing sonar. And it was an enlightening weekend for me while we were fishing. The Finger Lakes lend themselves very well to forward facing sonar. It gives you a huge advantage on fisheries like the Finger Lakes. And the reason for that is, especially when it comes to smallmouth bass fishing, those fish tend to roam, and they're roaming over large expanses of the lake that aren't really related to any kind of cover or structure. What they're doing is following baitfish schools. They might be out over 100 feet of water, 40 feet down, following baitfish schools. This happens in the summer particularly, but it can happen any time of the year. And so if you are willing to go around and look with your forward facing sonar, you can find these fish that have not been touched or bothered because no one had a tool to really go after them before like this. And in fact, that's what we did on this particular weekend. We caught a number of fish that way just by finding them on the forward facing sonar. Now this device isn't just for bass fishing though either. It finds all kinds of fish, and one of the things that we did with it was found large schools of perch and just caught perch after perch once we found them, just using simple things like a drop shot and a little hook and minnow, or a small jig and minnow. Caught tons of perch doing that. So it has its applications for other species, for other fish species as well. So while we were out on this particular Finger Lake, we started just looking around, and we thought we'd focus on baitfish schools and then see if the smallmouths are around them. And we found a lot of baitfish schools spread out throughout the lake, some with no fish around them and others having several smallmouths that were underneath them or nearby waiting to feed on them. Those are the ones that we focused on and tried to catch by throwing multiple different baits out. One of the baits that seemed to work was just a natural swim bait. Another one that worked well for me was the Z-Man graph shad, and if the fish were closer to the bottom, then a drop shot worked very well as well.
Thanks, sir.
Yep, nice.
Take them.
Yeah, for today we'll take them all day long. Down there, right in the bait. See yourself in there? That's you, because I'm not down this far yet.
It's going down.
That's probably mine down there. Just keep up, that's mine.
Nice, I seen him coming up. I seen him coming up. There's another one. That was cool.
That was cool.
That was cool.
Smallmouth.
Well. Alright.
Graph shad.
With the net?
I'm gonna try and boat flip on him. Or I'm just gonna, as soon as he,
Shoulders on him, Dennis.
I got him.
Nice.
Settle down.
That's a good fish. That was cool.
That was cool. I saw my bait going down through that bait, and then all of a sudden it got heavy. I'm like, I got a fish.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sounds good. So we got to looking for other things as well. We got focusing on different water depths, and we found that there was a lot of activity in about 40 feet. This is where a lot of the perch were on this particular day. But there were smallmouths down there with some of these schools of perch as well. And if there was some kind of piece of cover, then we would find the smallmouths were relating to that. For example, we found what looked like a sunken dock with the forward-facing sonar, and there were a lot of big fish swimming around that. Some of them were perch, smaller fish, but then some of those were smallmouths that we caught. One of the other things that we noticed was what looks like anchor ropes that just go vertically up into the water column. Maybe an anchor rope that broke and it's just up in the water. We found several of those, and when we did, we almost always saw bass relating to them. In fact, the biggest one that I caught was relating to an anchor rope that we saw on forward-facing sonar, and I was able to catch on the graph shad. Take a look at this. Rope thing. Nice. Bass? I think so. You hit it on the way down, Judd. Yeah, this is a big fish.
There's a big one. That says the big fish. We saw. Remember, we saw.
Yeah, that was on that rope, I bet. That rope was over there. Doing a lot of head shaking. You hit it on the way down.
Whoa.
Oh, there's fish with them. There's fish with them. Throw your bait out there. Alright. Oh, the bait came out of his mouth.
That's a big fish. I'm going to take a picture.
Oh, I'm spooked there. Sorry about that.
Look at that.
Show this guy the camera. Graph shad. Boy, he's a pretty one. So now, as you can see with this forward-facing sonar, you can still find the objects and things that are out there that are in front of you that you're looking towards, but you can also see what's relating to them. Bait fish, perch schools, bass, or whatever other species of fish you may be looking for. So how do you know if you should own one of these? Well, that's a really good question. You know, they don't come cheap. They cost quite a bit of money, and that's one of the things that's holding me back. I'm waiting for something better to come along at a better price point. And that may keep me waiting for a while until I can't stand it anymore and have to make my move. But we'll see how that goes in the future. If I do buy it, I will let you know on the channel here, and we'll be showing you more about how to use it. If you are generally a shallow water, structure and cover oriented fisherman, in other words, you like to fish shallow water, visible objects, wood, rock, weeds, then forward-facing sonar is not as important. I'm not saying it can't be used and can't be beneficial. It can. You'll still see all the things that are out there. But when you're fishing shallow like that, you just cover a lot of water. Eventually you're going to come through an overfish, and you can still see them on side finding and that kind of imaging, and then just go back and focus on those objects. If you know that the fish are relating to particular objects on a particular day, fallen trees, big rocks, weed beds, and then you fish those, you're going to have success, and forward-facing sonar may not be as critical to you. But if you're looking at fishing deeper water applications, or applications where fish are schooling and suspended out in the middle of nowhere, striper fishing comes to mind. A lot of times we see these stripers suspended. I'm using my regular sonar to find them and catch them, but I can only imagine how much better it would be and how much more effective I could be if I had forward-facing sonar looking for those fish. Because then I could see where they are exactly. I could put my bait in front of them and see how they're reacting to it, which helps the presentation factor of that formula that we gave at the beginning of the video. So if you want to learn how to fish deeper water and open up a whole new world of fishing possibilities, then forward-facing sonar is certainly something to consider. It is a powerful tool, and it will definitely help you learn how to find fish and make them react in such a way that you can get them to trigger them to bite. I hope you found the video helpful and informative. If you did, give me a thumbs up. subscribe to the channel, and if you'd like to see an interesting video about fishing line, take a look at this one right here. Till next time, be safe out there, hope to see you on the water, and as always, may God bless your fishing endeavors.